luxury mean to you? Luxury. In India, I discovered.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports. Some of you out there are probably wondering, why does he take so long before he starts his shows? The problem is this: when I hit the go live button, I'm never sure whether before my shows start, if there's going to be an advertisement. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports. So I'm never sure if there's going to be a live show, a live advertisement or not. So what happens is I click the live button and I say start streaming. And then I have to pause, wait for the circle to go around, wait for the live stream to start. Live stream, I'm ready to go. Then the advertisement pops up. So then it gives you that 5 second slot there. So add that into it as well. Quickly get through from the ad. And then before you know it, you have your live show. So this is your live show. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Sports. Now we're talking about Derek Chisora versus Alexander Usyk, or Alexander Usyk versus Derek Chisora. The date has been revealed, March the 28th, 2020. You're saying potentially the O2 Arena. Eddie Hearn, the promoter of Matchroom Boxing, has mentioned now that this is the fight that's on. Am I surprised? Hell no. Before Andy Ruiz went into his rematch with Anthony Joshua, there were rumblings about this fight between Derek Chisora and Alexander Usyk. The minute Chisora started talking about Alexander Usyk, I want to fight Alexander Usyk, that started to get the ball rolling. You can't expect Alexander Usyk to promote this fight on his own. If the fight's in Ukraine, that's fine. You know, it's a sellout crowd. But if you try to sell the fight in the UK or to American audience, forget it. So Chisora's got to open his mouth and say, I want to fight Usyk. And so, lo and behold, we're getting Usyk versus Chisora. The only thing I'm surprised about is that the WBO are not giving the belt to Usyk. Well, that's what I'm thinking. The WBO are not making the belt. WBO are making it a vacant belt. Very interesting as to why that isn't the case, because I'd been hearing it before even Joshua fought Ruiz in rematch that the WBO belt was going to be thrown up and made vacant to allow Chisora and Usyk to fight for the world title. That's what I thought was originally going to happen. Well, it seems that's not the case, and that's not going to be happening now. It's just going to be Chisora versus Usyk, which is a good fight as it is. But I don't think at this point in time Alexander Usyk is improving as a fighter. I think he's regressing as a fighter. I would like to see what Alexander Usyk would have looked like under James Bashir's tutelage had he been left alone and not interfered with. What Usyk would be looking at, what type of Usyk would be looking at now in 2020. I really would like to see if you could put the Usyk today that we've got versus the Usyk trained under Bashir without any of those hands involved, what Alexander Usyk would have looked like today. So you'd give Usyk the same fights, trained under Bashir and trained under his current trainer, what that Usyk would look like. And then what Usyk would have looked like versus Chaz Witherspoon under this trainer and under James Bashir. I only say this because I don't think Usyk is improving. If you look at how the masterful performance he put on against Gavaki to become the WBO cruiserweight champion of the world, the way people said Usyk was gliding around the ring and the way his footwork was, they said, some people said it was almost Ali-like, the way he was moving around the ring so gracefully. Since then, we've seen Usyk in fights where he's been getting touched up a lot. You know, he went on to become undisputed cruiserweight champion of the world. Yes, and that's no mean feat. That's a tremendous performance by him to become that. But in those fights, you saw him getting hit a lot more obviously you've got to take into consideration the opposition, but there's less of him using those feet and gracefully moving around the ring. More Usyk now standing in the pocket and getting hit a lot more. He then moves up to heavyweight and fights Chaz Witherspoon. Now, there were whispers in the camp that Usyk wasn't happy with the way that the Chaz Witherspoon fight went, and he almost felt like he was too light against Chaz Witherspoon. Well, Chaz Witherspoon, with all due respect, was, somebody called him a 4-round fighter. Some people said that he was retired. I hadn't heard Chaz Witherspoon's name for years, and that performance that Usyk put on against Chaz Witherspoon wasn't impressive. Yes, it was his first outing at heavyweight. I remember Evander Holyfield, he moved up to heavyweight. I think his first fight, I keep talking about it again, I think it was against Alisson Rodriguez. He came out and Rodriguez started putting on Holyfield in the first round. And the second round, Holyfield landed one overhand right and laid Rodriguez out flat. And that started to tell the story as to what Evander Holyfield's intention was as a heavyweight. The story that Usyk has started with Chaz Witherspoon was a guy that was semi-retired, retired, I don't know. And, well, the Takam fight fell through. The Sprung fight fell through. So you had Chaz Witherspoon. Okay, it was a late replacement. But at no point in that Chaz Witherspoon fight did I feel convinced or totally convinced about Usyk. Right? I beat it was his first fight at cruiserweight, heavyweight. Okay, so we give him that. But against Chaz Witherspoon, you would have thought Usyk would have done something more. The thing that disturbed me most in the Chaz Witherspoon fight is when Chaz Witherspoon clipped Usyk, the way he backed up and didn't want to get engaged. Like he felt something there was like, you know, I didn't like that. I didn't like that, how I got hit there. I didn't like that. And his reaction wasn't one that was very fulfilling for me. I saw something that was a bit concerning. Maybe it's just me. Maybe just me. But this Derek Chisora fight, it is very straightforward for Derek Chisora. The instructions are very simple. Get in the best shape possible. The best possible shape you can get in. And then do not try and stand on the outside and box with Usyk. You do not have the boxing ability to box Usyk. Forget it. It's not happening. Right? And for 12 rounds, you have just got to keep putting constant hell on Alexander Usyk. And when you throw your punches, make sure they're going to land. Because Derek Chisora has got a habit in fights, big fights. The fights he's been knocked out in. White and Hay, he threw a lot of punches that were missing. What happens with Chisora is comes out all fast and huff, chuff, go big punches here. Fight is missing, blocking, slipping. He blows out his ass, and then he starts getting frustrated because he's not landing his punches. So Chisora gets frustrated. When he gets frustrated, he starts making mistakes, leaving himself wide open for big shots, counters. And if you look at the way Dillian Whyte knocked him out, and the way David Haye knocked him out, is a fighter that hasn't really, the penny hasn't dropped for Derek Chisora as to what he needs to do in fights where he's getting frustrated. Okay, so the penny didn't drop in the Haye fight. Subsequently, that's why he got knocked out by Dillian Whyte. So you can call him an experienced campaigner. He's had many fights, but Derek Chisora's style itself hasn't really improved. Yeah, he may have got physically stronger. You can certainly see it on his back. The David Price fight, and of course the second fight he had against Arthur Spilka are two good wins, two good knockout wins. Well, not so much the Price fight, more the Spilka fight. That's the one that keeps sticking in people's minds. But Arthur Spilka's not Alexander Usyk. No way, shape or form. Usyk is a superior boxer. And superior hand speed, movement, IQ, the lot. And of course, Usyk hasn't fought Deontay Wilder. So it's quite clear for me what Chisora's got to do. Stay on Usyk's chest for 12 rounds. Do not allow Usyk any space or time to think. You've just got to rough him up. And I tell him, He's got to rough him up from the press conference. He's got to get in Usyk's face from the press conference. Because Usyk himself, he don't mind a bit of that stuff, you know. He does. He's got a nasty side to him, Usyk. But Chisora's got to get him out of his game plan. He can't have Usyk sweet boxing and moving around and picking his moments and picking, because he'll get picked apart, countered and knocked out. You know, so and he'll walk onto. So what he's got to do is really walk Usyk down fast, work his body, big shots to the body early, take Usyk's legs away from him, and say, okay, you know what? For the first 6 rounds of this fight, I might be behind, but I'm gonna work your body, work your body, work your body. And the second half of the fight, where your legs stop moving, you can't move the same way, and you now start having to stand your ground because you get hit with so many body shots and get whacked up so much, then we start doing the head hunting and systematically breaking Alexander Usyk down. That's the way. That's the key to victory for Derek Chisora. For Usyk, his keys to victory are this: keep spinning, Derek Chisora. Don't allow yourself to be trapped in the ropes. Stay in the center of the ring and allow your fists and your boxing ability to take control of the fight. Don't get drawn into Derek Chisora's pre-fight antics. Use your boxing abilities. You're a far superior boxer to Derek Chisora. I don't even a far superior fighter, but you're a far superior boxer. Don't give a limited boxer as Derek Chisora, a limited slugger like Derek Chisora, the chance to land a home run. Don't. You've got to box, stay in the center of the ring, and circle Chisora, constantly spinning him. Don't allow Chisora time to set to throw punches. This is a guy that's had 9 losses on his record. So there's 9 ways to beat Derek Chisora. If you want to see Chisora on his back, you can see Chisora on his back. If you want to see Chisora stopped on his feet, you can see Chisora stopped on his feet. If you want to see Chisora get beat on points, you can see Chisora get beat on points. If you want to see what a fired up Derek Chisora looks like, you can see what a fired up Derek Chisora looks like. If you want to see what a lackluster Derek Chisora looks like, you can see a terrible, boring fight with Derek Chisora. Derek Chisora's style never does well against guys that move. let's make that clear as well. So it could end up being a complete ball fest, Usyk versus Chisora. But it all depends on what Chisora turns up. If the Chisora turns up that Chisora that fought Spilka, that Chisora, that guy, turns up against Usyk, in shape, powerful. I'd like to know what happens when Chisora lands on Usyk's chin. That's what I want to see. That moment. Because the reaction I saw from Usyk when he got hit by Chaz Witherspoon wasn't one that was it didn't fill me with great confidence. So, coming up on the show for you tonight, or after this show, we'll be talking to James Ali Bashir. Now, the trainer or the assistant trainer to Vladimir Klitschko. Here's why you need to listen to this show tonight and tell your friends and tell everyone. Check this out. All these people running around at the moment talking about Vladimir Klitschko knocked out, Vitaly Klitschko knocked out Wilder in sparring. We did that interview for you in 2013, and the person that broke that story and told you all that story wasn't Jonathan Banks, it was James Ali Bashir. And who was in that camp at the time? Richard Towers, Dillian White, Anthony Joshua, I think Sam Sexton, I think Malik Scott may have been in that camp as well. There was a big camp. And do you know why I remember this camp so well? This because I remember Bashir talking about Anthony Joshua and Dillian White getting into the camp as well. So I'm going to talk to Bashir about it, and we can hear from him exactly what went on with Wilder and what happened with Klitschko, the rumours, the truths, and the absolute fabrications. I remember a story where Klitschko was sparring Joshua, so I heard. And when Klitschko was sparring Joshua, the jabs were so much, Joshua entered the ring with a white vest, t-shirt. Yeah. The rumor is that by the end of that sparring session, Joshua's t-shirt was turned completely red with blood. Well, there's that story for you. If you're wondering why you can't leave comments in the comment section, apart from Cameron, good evening, Cameron, that's because Cameron's a member of BWTM. So you get the honour, the privilege to be able to type and to leave messages for those guests we have on the show. And also, it makes the channel troll free. So the only time trolls deserve to turn up on the channel now is when we're doing FIFA, and they're a good laugh. But otherwise, that's why it's here, and that's why the way it is. So yeah, I'm going to be bringing James Ali Bashir on in the next 10 to 15 minutes. The one thing that I am surprised about this fight is that there's no WBO title on the line. That's the one thing I am slightly confused about. Because I guess I know that if Usyk becomes WBO champion, I don't expect to see him defending it against the top heavyweights in the world. If Usyk becomes WBO champion, he'll probably take that fight, ship it off to the Ukraine, and they'll be defending it against fighters from the Yellow Pages. The Ukrainian Yellow Pages. That's what will happen. I'm telling you. They try and keep it in-house and start an establishment, which is understandable. I get it. I see it. But that's what will happen. So, that's what will happen. That's what will happen. So, I don't know, does Usyk bring money to the table like Joshua brings money to the table? No. Does Chisora bring money to the table like Joshua brings to the table? No. So it's probably in the WBO's best interest to just quieten down a minute and just wait for Joshua to get through his mandatory with Mr. Pulev, which I think is going to happen. And I also think Dillian White's going to fight Povetkin. Regardless of what else they talk about Andy Ruiz, that's a smoke screen. It's Povetkin versus Dillian White. That's what can happen. Remember they were talking all the stuff about Joseph Parker? Here's the Bashir call coming through. I'm going to call you back in a second. We'll do the Bashir show. Talk to you soon. When I'm back, I'll be with James Ali Bashir. See you in a minute.